Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes. Thanks. Welcome to the August 20th, 2015 meeting of the Anderson Township Board of Township Trustees. It's hard to believe, but 2/3 of 2015 is now behind us. If you would, please join me in the most important thing we're going to do tonight, and that's the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move to adopt the agenda.
Second. Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes, thank you. We have several presentations and recognitions tonight. Vicki, you want to give us some background here?
Yes, good evening. It has come to our attention that we have a national champion in the township, Bria, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, Bria McKinnon, who is the 11-year-old Mercer Elementary student who recently won the U.S. National Championship for Scottish Highland Dancing. Through this award, I have learned that Scottish Highland Dancing is a celebration of the Scottish spirit. The dances are a spectacular combination of strength, agility, movement, music, and costume. Unlike other dance mediums, Highland dances are generally danced solo and in competition. Highland dancing is performed by both men and women, where one of the few sports and dancing competitions where men and women compete equally. As I mentioned, we have an 11-year-old champion here in the township. Bria is with us tonight, and I would ask on behalf of the board that she come forward to receive a recognition from the Board of Township Trustees.
And our most agile trustee will do it.
We just, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, would like to award you with the certificate of recognition for all your work. The best dressed person in here.
Congratulations.
Nice socks.
Russ has the same ones on right now.
No, I do. Vicki, who's
Next.
going to
Mercy.
handle the Mercy? Dr. Fagans?
Yes, Dr. Fagans
Well,
is with us this evening.
We'll introduce
Please
him.
come up. Dr. Stephen Fagans with Mercy Hospital. He's here to talk to us a little bit about the topping out beam.
Well, thank you very much. There's a beam sitting out here. It's been sitting in Anderson Township Center since last Thursday for the party in the plaza. That is a real beam that will really go in the tower that's being built just down the street here. I'll tell you a little bit about Mercy Anderson Hospital, just to kind of lay the foundation. And so there are about 3,500 hospitals in America. Almost every one of them have a goal to become a top 100 hospital. And through the years, that goal has become more difficult and more difficult. And through the years, there have been about 3, sometimes 4 Cincinnati hospitals named to the top 100 in the nation hospitals. This year, in all of Cincinnati, there was only one, and it was this one, Mercy Anderson Hospital. Among being a top 100 hospital, on a 5-year journey, we've become a top 50 cardiovascular hospital. And so there are many clinical and academic and other things that we have done to really make this one of the best hospitals, if not the best, in Cincinnati. And one thing we don't have is all private rooms and a facility and a structure to really mirror the clinical quality that we have. And so that's the $70 million project that you see. You can't miss it over here. And the other thing that we do is we really partner with the community. And so there is a tradition in construction. It's a pretty serious tradition, and it is called topping out. And so the final beam that's put in place is called the topping out beam. and there's a ceremony, and the ceremony will occur on September 28th, and the trustees and others are invited for lunch with the construction team. And it's usually one beam, and another tradition has come up, which is to sign that beam. And so they typically sit in the hospital atrium, which we did with the West Hospital and of other hospitals for some time, and people sign it. But we have 4 beams. We have one big one that will start sitting in the atrium of the hospital, and 3 small ones that have been circulating around the community, including Party on the Plaza, Forest Hills opening of schools, the elementary school open houses, and various other functions, including Anderson Days, so that the community can put their name on a beam that really goes in that hospital. And so all 4 of those beams will be raised on September 28th with as many names and signatures and small messages. I was just reading some of them. They're awesome. On the real beam that goes into the hospital. And that's part of the community relationship that we want to continue to foster with trustees and the schools and the fire and the EMS and the other real citizens of this community. So thanks for hosting the beam for a week. It will now move to an elementary school for some open houses. So thank you.
Thanks, Steve. The American Cancer Fund reports that cancer is the leading cause of death by disease among U.S. children between infancy and age 15. This tragic disease is detected in nearly 15,000 of our country's young people each and every year. On that basis, we have been asked and very positively would like to declare September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in Anderson Township. Do we have a motion?
I would move to adopt a proclamation resolution designating Childhood Cancer Awareness Month.
Second. Mr. Pappas? Yes. Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes. With that, we'll move forward under public hearings. We have a public hearing going to open for Case 1-2015 and Case 9-1983 Anderson. Paul Drury. Thank you, Paul. Bye, guys.
See ya.
We can get the mouse working. There we go. Thank you. Tonight we have a public hearing for a zone change request for Case 1-2015 Anderson, and also a substantial modification for Case 9-1983 Anderson. The applicant is Doug Kramer, who is with Al Nair LLC, who is representing their 3 property owners involved. One is Anderson Township, who owns a parcel on Beachmont Avenue, or addressed off of Beachmont Avenue, Anderson Woods Partnership, and Rose Hornsby, who are also property owners. The locations at 7661 and 7881 Beachmont Avenue, as well as 1149 Asbury Road. A little bit of history. Well, I guess we should go back to the actual request. I missed that part. So the applicant is requesting a zone change. The parcel on Beachmont Avenue, the 2 parcels, 7661 and 7681, a portion of it is zoned E retail, a portion of it is zoned C residence, and the remaining portion of the property in question, it belongs to 1149 Asbury Road, which is the Asbury Woods Senior Apartments, and that portion is zoned DD. There was a final development plan that was approved with that development that specified what the density of that development would be. So that's the request for that property, is a substantial modification to modify that condition. And the other property is being requested to be zoned to OO planned office for the construction of a 42,000 square feet medical office building with associated parking. The township piece was purchased in 2007 to help facilitate cross-access from Beachmont Avenue. And shortly after the property was purchased, there was a single-family home on that property that was demolished. The other buildings on the property, Eastern Hills Academy Hair Design, and then Bob's Auto Repair, those were constructed in the late 60s. Asbury Senior Woods was constructed in 1983. So this is a CAGIS drawing of the property, Beachmont Avenue, and the property is outlined in red. This would be the property for the construction of the office building, and the portion of the request that would be OO planned office. This is the Asbury Woods Senior Apartments, which is accessed off of Asbury Road, just off of the slide there, and that is for this substantial modification. This piece here would be transferred for the office development. It's kind of dark, but this is a 2015 aerial to put the property in perspective of surrounding properties. To the south is Anderson High School and their practice fields. Directly to the west is the former Buddy Rogers building and the strip center here that has Izzy's First Watch and other retail. This is the Christ Hospital Ambulatory Center, the Forest Hills District School offices. This is McDonald's, the Festival Market, Asbury Woods Senior Apartments. Tried to show this in perspective to the surrounding area. There is cross-access over to Asbury Road through the development of Beachmont and Asbury to Festival Market, and there will be some discussion about that later on in the staff report. There is cross-access currently to, there will be proposed access to the former Buddy Rogers piece, and again over to the Christ Hospital Ambulatory Center. The current zoning, the red is E, the orange is DD, planned multifamily, and the yellow is C, residence. This is the future land use map for the township. It's difficult to see the actual property, but the front portion and the majority of the rear is identified for general mixed use. The apartments are identified as multifamily. And then the the blue is identified for public institutional, and that is the school property. So this is the proposed site plan. The orientation has changed slightly. This is Beachmont Avenue and Wolfangle Road. The access would be the same as it is today, directly across from Wolfangle Road. The building would be centered primarily toward the rear of the site, with parking surrounding it. The applicant is, the building would be proposed at 2 stories tall with the drive-through or canopy for patient drop-off and pickup. There is pedestrian connections to the Asbury Woods Senior Apartments. There's also a proposed pedestrian connection to the school property, as well as vehicular connections to McDonald's, which are existing, as well as to the former Buddy Rogers parcel. This is the proposed landscaping plan. All of the zoning requirements for parking lot landscaping are met, as well as buffering requirements to the residence district, which the school property is zoned for residents. And then the lighting plan, which does meet all zoning requirements. These are the elevation drawings. This is the north elevation drawing, which would be facing Beachmont Avenue. This is the west elevation, which would be facing the primary parking field for the office. The south elevation and the east elevation. This is the elevation that would be facing the Asbury Woods Senior Apartments, and this was the elevation that would be facing the practice fields. And some site photos looking at Beachmont and the adjacent Senior Woods apartments. So a little bit of the case history. Regional Planning Commission heard the case on July the 2nd, 2015 and recommended approval. Anderson Township Zoning Commission heard the case on July 27th and also recommended approval with conditions. The agency reports, this was reviewed by all of our partnering county and state agencies, and the applicant has agreed to meet all of the conditions suggested by the agencies. As far as consistency, the OO office zoning district is consistent with the general mixed use category of the comprehensive plan. It's not a true general mixed use, but this property sits back away from Beachmont Avenue, so it is hard to achieve a true mix of uses, but this office use does complement surrounding residential uses as well as retail. These are the areas that staff and Regional Planning and Zoning Commission felt it was consistent with our comprehensive plan. All items of the zoning resolution are in compliance except for signage. The applicants request an additional wall signage. In OO, uses are permitted 40 square feet per facade, and the applicant is requesting to put 2 signs each at 60 square feet on the front facade, which would be toward Beachmont Avenue, and no signage on the other facades. So overall, the total square footage of wall signage, they are under just too large of a sign on the front facade. In reviewing the application, we looked at these items of the design guidelines and felt that all were being met, and these are addressed in the staff report. It is consistent with the downtown plan, which encourages pedestrian accessibility as well as cross-access to surrounding properties. It encourages also redevelopment of existing properties toward open spaces, and while this doesn't necessarily, as an office building, facilitate that, the setback from Beachmont Avenue does allow for this activity to take place closer to Beachmont Avenue. The trails plan, it does incorporate pedestrian connections. So staff's recommendation, as well as regional planning and the zoning commission, was to approve the request for a zone change from C residence, E retail, and plan multifamily to OO for the following reasons. These conditions were first recommended by Regional Planning Commission and modified by the Zoning Commission. These again are in the staff report. As far as the substantial modification, staff is in support of that as well. There was one condition that was not addressed by Regional Planning or the Zoning Commission, and the applicant did request it in their original application, and that was the omission of one condition from 1983, which discussed the need for additional parking should the demand call for it. And our parking, the township's parking regulations have changed since then that actually encourage less parking. And with this being a senior living community, the demand for additional parking, staff doesn't feel is needed and won't be needed. So we're in support of that and have added that as a condition in the staff report that you received, as well as the slide here. And that is the staff report. I can be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
No.
Paul, next door at the school, I know there's a proposed pedestrian easement. Is that, what about vehicular?
That was a recommended condition as well, a vehicular easement, not necessarily the connection be made at this time, but that an easement be put in place to allow for a future connection.
It is part of this.
Yes. I think we had it.
Paul, as you know, through our Economic Development Committee, this has been an anchor location for our downtown Anderson plan. And with what's going to happen on the opposite corner at Wolf Angle and Beachmont, it's quite an exciting asset. If we have no more questions, this is a public hearing, so anyone who wishes to come forward and, in support of this case 1-2015 and case 9-1983, please come forward now.
Name is Doug Kramer, business address 302 West 3rd Street, Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm project architect for Al Meyer, the applicant for the project. Excited to be here tonight, taking through this process, bringing it before you. And as Paul mentioned, we were able to accommodate all the conditions that were raised during the process, and really excited to work with the township throughout the process, whether it was the land assembly, the economic development, or through Paul's guidance with this zoning process at the county and township level. So happy to take any questions if you have any for me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Doug.
Anyone else wish to speak in support of this project? Anyone wish to speak in opposition to this project? Please come forward now. I'm not seeing anybody jump up, so that's a good thing. Good, unless someone wants, yes, Paul?
No, if you had any further questions.
Okay. With that, if we have no other comments or questions, we'll close the public hearing, both public hearings, I guess, and move forward. If the board so pleases, we can move forward with action now rather than wait till later. Probably need a motion.
I would move to adopt a resolution for case 1-2015 Anderson and case 9-1983 Anderson, approval of a zone change from E retail C residential and DD planned multifamily to OO planned office for property located at 7661 and 7681 Beachmont Avenue, and approval of a substantial modification to the final development plan for case 9-1983 Anderson, located at 1149 Asbury Road.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Gerth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Thanks, Paul.
That was painless. Good, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's good to see.
Okay. At every meeting, the board sets aside time for any citizens who might want to come forward and address the board. We ask that you state your name and address and limit your comments to 5 minutes. So we are now opening the public forum section, so anyone wishes to address the board, please come forward now.
Good evening. My name's Tom Fernandez. I'm with SFA Architects at 300 West 4th Street, Cincinnati, 45202. I'm also a property owner, and I could give you a bunch of those addresses. 1434 Hilltree, 1439 Hilltree, 7431 Candera. I could keep going. Thank you. We are not here to put the post office out of business, but we wrote a letter in follow-up to the memo that the Park Board issued, and since we wrote it yesterday, we thought that we would copy you and provide you copies of the letter. And it was in response to what was published, what was said as part of their last board meeting on August 11th. And there were 8 points that they raised in reference to the Anderson 2020 plan, as somebody coined that. The plan, and this has to do with the redevelopment of the existing Anderson High School site and potentially building a new high school at the Beach Acres Parenting Center. You know it well. There's been a lot of conversations out there, but one of the things we wanted to do is kind of make sure that the facts are known and to clear up some of the misinformation that's out in the community. So the letter, which we have copies to provide you today, hopes to clear those points. One of the, and in the letter, we try to address the issues of the budget, the cost of the high school, and what's included. We could assure you today that there is no gap in the funding that will provide a new high school for Anderson. And not only that, but that includes the purchase of the property in that. During our discussions, we had also extended the offer to the Park Board that we would include $2 million towards the renovation of the existing recplex that they now lease and operate. In addition to, in the letter, there were some other properties that the school board had discussed could be, that they could turn it over, ownership to the park board, and that included property that they have associated with Air Elementary and Sherwood Elementary. So in total, we would, at the end of the project, not only are we talking about $110 million worth of redevelopment of the existing Anderson High School site, we're talking about a new high school, renovated recplex. That would be exciting and something that generations could enjoy. We also, in here, in this letter, wanted to, I'm not going to go into, we included an interpretation or a legal opinion, whether this is legal to use the TIF dollars as we have suggested. I'm not, Margaret could speak to that, but in this plan, partners of this is not only Vanderkar, SFA, Continental Real Estate, Turner Construction, Fifth Third, and the Port Authority of Hamilton County, just to mention a few. This is just like the deal that we are putting together and working on, and actually just started construction at West Claremont Local Schools. We have also provided, and by the way, a lot of this information we had previously provided in a letter to the Park Board on July 27th. So we've included that letter as a detachment as well. So it's some of this is repetitive, as the legal opinion was previously provided. The budget numbers were previously provided. The guarantee by Continental Real Estate Holdings was also provided. We understand that for a long time the Park Board has been dreaming, been planning for the purchase of the Beach Acres Parenting Center. It's a great property, and we understand that sometimes opportunities come late. Obviously, after putting and working on the West Claremont deal, we saw this to be a wonderful opportunity that we wanted to present to the community. We're here to answer any questions. Rob, do you want to add more?
I'm Rob Smijunas, 5027 Madison Road in Cincinnati. I'm with Vanderkar, and I was the guy that brought this to the attention of Josh and the school district many months ago. And this opportunity has actually not changed. It can still go forward. It's just a matter of timing, cooperation, all working together. We hope that at some point that things change. We're still ready, willing, and able, all the parties included that were just mentioned, willing to go forward with this project of developing the existing school site. And there was a misspeak. It's about a $120 to $180 million project that would go upon the school site, depending upon densities. So we're ready and willing to go forward at the appropriate time.
Ron, I actually have a couple more clarifications I just want to bring up. The Park Board, just to clarify, we are not proposing to have an impact on the amphitheater or the existing park regarding its parking. The new high school would have actually 530 dedicated parking spaces. That's 50% more than it has now at its current site, and that's not using or borrowing any property or any parking that's at the current Beach Acres Park. And as far as what happens to the amphitheater, and that is strictly up to the Park Board. All we're saying is that we could dedicate and have committed to dedicate $2 million towards the renovation as part of this plan.
That's if they did not want to go forward with the levy.
That's correct. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address this board? If you do, please come forward. Don't be shy. Yes, ma'am. If you like.
I am here in response to a letter that I received for an application for a C1, C2 liquor permit. I am the new owner of the Anderson Marathon down the road. And I guess a little bit of what I'll read you the letter I wrote. It says, I am writing to provide further clarification regarding my application for a C1 and C2 liquor license. The reason for requesting a C1 and C2 liquor permit from the Ohio Department of Liquor Control Board is I, Margaret Wesselman, am the owner of Route 125 IGA Express, Anderson Marathon. Excuse me. The hours of operation are as follow: Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., Saturday, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., or 9 p.m. And these hours are in effect spring and summer. The fall and winter hours are as follows: Monday through Thursday, 6 to 9, Friday, 6 to 10, Saturday, 7 to 10, and Sunday, 8 to 8. We are a convenience store, deli, or store with no deli. We anticipate a variety of clientele, such as a person who can run in and buy a loaf of bread, a gallon of milk, and who does not want to go to a large grocery store for just a couple of items. From our experience from running 2 other stores, we allow minors into the store with no anticipated issues regarding selling alcohol or tobacco products to minors. We would like to have a grand opening when the C1 and C2 liquor license is issued, allowing us to rent a DJ with music to attract future customers and businesses. And I'm so sorry if I feel so nervous, because I am. So
You're doing
thank you very
fine.
much.
No problem at all.
This makes everybody nervous. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm so intimidating. You're on the agenda a little later, and we'll take the vote then. So that's quite all right.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's good. Better now than later. There you go. Anyone else wish to address this board? This is going to be your last chance, folks. Step right up there. If not, we'll close the public forum portion of the meeting and move forward to trustees' comments.
Want me to start?
Okay.
Please do.
What do I want to talk about tonight? I just would like to take a moment to, I think I might have done this the last time, with all this discussion regarding the Beach Acres and the old Anderson High School site. I'd like to thank all those that have worked and are continuing to work behind the scenes to try to make this project move forward. I'd especially like to thank my fellow trustee, Josh Girth, because I know all of the time that he's developed to it due to legalities and whatnot. There can only be one trustee at an event discussing, outside of a public forum, discussing township business. So I really want to, I know it's taken a lot of your time, Josh, and I really want to thank you personally for that and let everybody know the amount of effort that you've put into it. Staff as well has put a phenomenal amount of effort into it. And I don't think the public sometimes recognizes that or may not be aware of it. So I just like to publicly thank them for their service to the community. Another thing is just welcome everyone back to school. Remind everybody, we've had some posts about how to behave around school buses. Buses are out there on the roads, so if everyone could just remember or look at the website and see what roads you stop for them and what roads you don't, and don't guess, because it can be a dangerous situation. But it's nice to see the buses rolling again back here in Anderson and school's back in session. I wish everybody a happy school year.
Thank you. Josh?
Thank you, Mr. Pappas, for those comments. I would like to point out, speaking of staff and all the hard work they do, last Friday's Business Courier on the front page says people to know in government, and our very own Vicki Earhart was part of that list.
Is that photograph? Steve?
I can hold it up.
Steve,
Yeah,
do we have a
this-
photograph up here or no?
Vicky's part of a team that you see sitting around this room, all of whom could be in this publication because all of them do a great job representing this township. So, well-deserved. Little press is always good. So, thanks.
Are you kissing up to her for
I
a
am.
reason? No,
Well, maybe.
no motive at all, right?
No, Russ.
Okay. Thank you. I want to just mention two other media-related items. One is Cincy Magazine has finally come to their senses and recognized our 5-mile trail as the best of the East for best fitness trail. It's only been 9 years that we've had it, so that's really great recognition. We appreciate that. So I think perhaps that the awareness of the extension of the Little Miami Scenic Trail that you're watching evolve down on Long 32, starting at Super America, is getting a lot of people's attention. So next time you drive down there, you got to take a look. It's pretty impressive. Second item, I just want to clarify something that might have been misinterpreted. Had to do with Anderson Township trustees being worried about the Racino policing. The cost of what we're dealing with at the Racino and along Kellogg is no greater than what we anticipated. In fact, it's probably a little less than what we had anticipated. The problem, and the real question that has us not just worried but angry, is the fact that the state of Ohio has reneged on reimbursing us for costs to cover the anticipated expenses down there. We were promised by the state that after 2 years, the governor would enter into an agreement with the Horsemen's Benevolent Association that would pay us $500,000 a year to cover those costs. The governor decided that he didn't think that was right because he thought all the lottery money should go to him. So he vetoed the original deal and refused to extend it. The legislature this past June, I guess it was, included in the 2-year budget funding for the promised funding, but after that, we're really not sure what's going to happen. We did, Mrs. Earhart and I met this afternoon with the Speaker of the House, and we have some ideas as to how we might be able to get their attention. But what's going on down there is no worse than we anticipated. In fact, the folks at Belterra Park have to be as fine of corporate citizens as any community would ever want. I mean, these people are involved in everything from the free store downtown. They funded half of our memorial, Veterans Memorial. They're very active in the economic development. They are the right kind of citizens, and it is a place where you can feel safe. As they said a couple of years ago, their age demographic is a 57-year-old woman. And I don't think the crime statistics for 57-year-old women is really out of line. You can correct me, Lieutenant, if I'm wrong, but I think we're okay there. So it has been great. Yeah, is there a lot of activity? Of course there are, particularly the fact that every time you have an EMS run, and that's the real thing that you have problems with, you also have to have a sheriff's car. So you actually get a twofer, but it goes on the numbers, and that does affect the statistics. The other impact that we have are the spikes that happen because of Belterra's next-door neighbor at Riverbend. And during the big concerts, they get a lot of problems with overflow of people who spent the day in the parking lot trying to figure out how to get those pop-off tops to not pop off, and then they go over there and cause trouble. But all in all, we're not unhappy at all. We're just unhappy with the state. But maybe we have a plan to correct it. So that's enough of that. Okay, moving forward. Fiscal Officer, Mr. Ken Dietz.
Thank you. As I say, just about every month until we get toward the end of the year, the financial reports indicate that our revenues are above what we anticipated, but we have to realize once again that our tax collections happen in the first month of the year, in the June and July months, so things will kind of settle down there, but we are doing better in our revenues than we anticipated. The expenditures are below what we have budgeted for, and we intend to keep those below. So we have those financial reports for you. But the second item, unfortunately, we can't anticipate everything. And in the fire department, we've had 2 vehicle generators that went bad on us, and we did not anticipate that, and we had some other major repairs. So we're going to ask the board to adopt some appropriation changes. We need $30,000 more in the repair area for vehicles in fire and EMS. And the plan is to take that from the salaries, which we're hoping will, in the actual fund for fire and rescue, will be under budget. And that would be one appropriation change within the same fund, so it doesn't have to go to the county auditor's office. And the other one's minor, but still something that we had not planned for. Telephone, Apple tablets, phone service. We need to add some money to that, and we're going to take it from other expenses. So 2 appropriation changes within the same fund, and I would need the board's approval on those.
Do we have a motion?
I move to adopt the changes to appropriations as presented.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
I see we have 2 sets of minutes that need to be approved.
Yeah,
We do?
Move to adopt the meeting minutes from June 4th, 2015 and July 9th, 2015,
With minor corrections.
with minor corrections.
Thank you.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes. Thank you. Well, we like your tie. Yeah, lovely.
It's got X's on it.
I know. Law Director, Margaret Comey?
We have another, did we get both of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got
Okay.
them.
Yeah, we did. Nothing, Margaret?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Planning and Zoning. Paul Drury again.
Thank you.
Getting a lot of FaceTime here, Paul.
Back and forth.
As you're aware, the township has been working on a sidewalk project on Wolfangle Road, actually since, well, prior to 2012, but the township received funding in 2012 through the Transportation Alternatives Program, which is funding through OKI. At that time, we hired an engineer, URS, who has since merged and changed names to AECom, as our engineer to take us through that process. We have, at the point of Stage 3 plans, which are 90% complete, but through the latest revisions, staff worked with URS to modify the plans to help eliminate a good deal of the retaining walls that were in the original plans they had designed, which helps minimize construction costs down the road. It also helps to minimize easement acquisitions through the project as well. But in doing so, AECom is requesting additional funding up front on the engineering side, which we in turn feel that will reduce costs in the construction side, which will outweigh this. So before you is a request for additional funding of $29,400 for this contract. And again, this is upfront engineering costs, which in turn we feel will reduce the construction costs much greater than the $29,000 upfront.
Paul, can we quantify what kind of savings we're going to get in relation to a $29,400 investment?
We don't have an exact, I talked to Richard Mr. Shelley, I also talked to Mr. Caruso on this, and we feel that the savings in the long-term monetary would be $60,000 to $100,000. However, there are other costs associated with that, less impact on the residents that live along this segment, less in easement acquisitions as well, which are costly, especially when you apply for a grant and have to go through that process. So is it, borrow terminology from Richard, is a trickle-down effect. So we feel that that may be the cost monetarily, but there are also other...
The savings will exceed $29,400.
Yes, to answer your question, yes.
That's the important thing. Okay. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I move to amend.
Perhaps.
I think we did. I move to amend Resolution 13-0620-08 to authorize the Township Administrator to revise the previously authorized contract with URS for detailed engineering associated with the $410,000 ODOT Transportation Alternative Program TAP grant-funded Wolfangle sidewalks to address the unforeseen tasks not included in the original scope of work, authorizing additional TIF funding in an amount not to exceed $27,303.
Second.
Quick question. Is it 27.3 or is it 29.4?
Confused a little bit. Is it 27.3 or 24? It's two different numbers.
I had in the memo...
You had in the memo 29.4.
29.4.
In the motion, you have 27.303.
Actually, it was Tom's memo. We'll blame Tom.
I can amend that to 29.404. That's where I was checking.
It's 24...
I'll do that. I'll amend that last sentence to be an amount not to exceed $29,404.
Yes, their attachments say 24.4, but...
$29,400.
Okay.
Second? Anyone?
I'm going to read it again.
No, that's okay.
Second.
Discussion?
No, it's nice that we're going to save a bunch of money, though, even though we have to spend some, so.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes. Perhaps you added a contingency in Tom's number?
That might have just been a typo. I think it probably is 24.4,
Okay.
but to be safe, thank you for the
We're covered
29.
either way. Thank you.
The second item under our agenda is a Board of Zoning Appeals vacancy. Mr. Brian Elliff, who has been on the Board of Zoning Appeals either as an alternate or as a regular member for a good 6-7 years now, has taken a position that conflicts with the night that the Board of Zoning Appeals meets. So he submitted a letter of resignation, and we are recommending that Jeannie Bechtold, who is the first alternate, be appointed to fill that term, which will expire in December of 2016.
I would move to adopt a motion to accept the resignation of Brian Iliff as a member of the Anderson Township Board of Zoning Appeals and appoint Jeannie Bechtold to this unexpired open position with a term to expire on December 31st, 2016.
Second.
Jeannie has been our first alternate for a number of years now, and up till now, she did not want to be appointed to a regular position, but she's changed her mind, so that's great.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then
Mr.
the
Pappas?
next two items on the agenda, this time
We
every...
have to vote there, Paul.
Yes,
we didn't vote.
Mr. Pappas?
Whoa. Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yeah.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes, thank you. Okay, Paul.
Okay.
Whoa.
So the
Take a
next
deep
two
breath.
items...
It's your first time, right?
It is. The next two items, this time every year, well, actually in September, the township is required to certify nuisance abatement expenses for the previous year. And these are both for 505.86 and 505.87. 186 is, of course, I'm going to say this wrong. One is for the removal of 505.86 is for the removal of unsafe structures, and 505.87 is for the abatement of tall grass or the removal of rubbish, et cetera, on properties. So the first resolution before you is for 505.86, and this is to certify that the township expended $16,816.06.
Moved. You want a motion?
Yes, please do.
Move to adopt a resolution certifying written report of action of this board and unpaid expenses in connection therein under revised code section 505.86 to Hamilton County Auditor for collection.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
So, and that was for the demolition of one unsafe structure. The second resolution is for 505.87, and there were a total of
That's
3
the total.
properties that were abated, all for tall grass. The total expenses for that were $1,139.
Move to adopt a resolution certifying written report of action of this board and unpaid expenses in connection therein under revised code section 505.87 to Hamilton County Auditor for collection.
Second.
Discussion?
It's a lot of money for grass.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes. Thank you.
And I just want to recognize Ms. Hefner, our zoning inspector, who goes above and beyond to work with these property owners, primarily the responsible properties, or the responsible parties, the banks, the mortgage holders, et cetera. She does an outstanding job. To only have 4 within a year is
Yes, she does.
Pretty amazing, so.
That, you might mention that the first resolution was somewhat extensive because it did involve demolition, while the other 4 were, there were 4 entities totaling $1,100, so
That's
great. Great for Barbara. Thank you.
That's all I had.
Now for the exciting part. Lieutenant Matt Guy.
Good evening. I only have one item on the agenda pertaining to the Sheriff's Office, and ma'am, it is your item, the liquor permit. Yes. You have a motion in front of you. It is for a liquor license transfer request for the Westman Group Anderson LLC DBA Marathon. Our office has no objections to the transfer of this liquor license.
Good. With that, I would move that we not object to a liquor license transfer request for Messelman Group Anderson LLC DBA Route 125 IGA Express, 7210 Beachmont Avenue.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes. There you go. It's done.
Thank you for being open.
Yeah, thank you.
You have to,
We want an invite to the party.
you have to stay to the end of the meeting or revert.
Not really, no, he's kidding, you don't. You really don't.
You don't have drive-through donuts, do you? Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You didn't just say that, did you?
No, I didn't have to, but I did.
And Mr. Pappas, I wanted to thank you for bringing up the issue with the school buses yesterday so that we could initiate getting that message out there. I actually got stopped improperly on the west side of town this morning on a 4-lane road.
It's stunning how people don't remember.
Yeah, so you guys can
driving.
see the diagram there. We've got it out on Facebook. If it's a 2-lane, actually, if it's 3 lanes or less, you have to stop both directions for a school bus. If it's 4 lanes or more, you only have to stop if you're going the same direction as a school bus. The opposite direction does not have to stop. And I think I may draw something up very similar for the use of that center lane on Beachmont Avenue as well.
It's kind of haphazard the way it's obeyed right now.
Yes, exactly. People aren't used to it. They think they have to stop, and it actually stops traffic improperly.
Oh, it's stunning in the morning sometimes.
And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Lieutenant. Richard Shelley, Public Works.
Mr. Jackson, you make Belterra sound like an exciting place. I'll have to get down there someday.
Yeah, you'll have to
I'm not sure I understand the scoffing, but
It's a wonder if lightning can strike.
That was well played.
I have one item before the board tonight, and it's another good one. What?
You do?
We
You
have
do?
nothing on the agenda, Mr. Shelley.
I have a draft agenda that
You know the
says
fat
I have
chances?
one item before the board tonight.
Hey,
Go
it's your
ahead.
floor, go for it.
Go for it, buddy.
The acceptance of the Hamilton County salt bids.
Perhaps we need to amend the agenda.
Did I do it last month?
Did we do it
I
last
thought you did. Yeah.
Did we?
Earth to Richard.
It was on there for this month, so I was getting up when I was told. So.
We
I
apologize.
have nothing further.
You're welcome.
I apologize.
Board's time.
You better head on down to
You
Belterra
might
right
want to
now.
go back to Belterra here shortly.
It is on my agenda, is it not?
It is on that one,
Thank
but
you.
I think we removed it.
That's the
after
one I
we-
took off the front desk, by the way.
After we decided that it was done
All
last
right.
time, so.
Thank you.
Nice job. Fire and Rescue Department, Chief Mark Over.
You sure? Are you positive?
Yeah, double check, check your pockets.
If I could, Mr. Shelley, it's in the minutes that we adopted earlier tonight. It was taken, action was taken on July 9th. It was in the minutes, so yes.
We will have salt. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, you went into a long dissertation on that salt and what the previous cost and our best experience, all of it. You don't remember? Okay.
Captivating.
Whoa.
I remember, but it was on the agenda.
Township Administrator, Mrs. Vicki Earhart.
I just hope he's not trying to tell us something about the winter,
Yeah.
how bad it's going to be. There are 3 items from Township Administration Office. This evening, Ms. Parker has the first.
In your packet, you should each have a memo talking about a program that we participate in every year. We have for at least 10 years. And this is called a Workers' Compensation Group Retroactive Program. It's offered through the Ohio Township Association, and CareWorks/Frank Gates Advisant are the companies that actually administer our claims. And what this is, because of our claims costs have been pretty good, they've reached a certain threshold that we were eligible again this year to participate. On average, we tend to save about 35% off our premium costs every year. Participation in the program does require us to contract and pay a fee to CareWorks, Frank Gates, and this is for all the claims administration and legal work that they do for us. But even with that fee to those companies, we're going to save about $83,466. So it is definitely a worthwhile project. It has proven to be beneficial for legal review and coordinating medical reviews and all the things that go into managing a workers' comp claim. It has proven to be very worthwhile. So I would again ask that the board this year approve the participation in the program.
I would move to authorize payment of $24,725 to CareWorks Comp for Anderson Township's participation in the 2016 Ohio Township Association's Group Rating Program.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Earth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
And if I could, please just interject. I mentioned before that Frank Gates Advisant is one of the companies that we work with this group rating program. I have had contact and very close dealings with one of their employees, Ms. Janelle Nickel, and I'd like to offer our condolences to the Frank Gates employees, families, those people we worked closely with over the years regarding Ms. Nichols' passing this past Saturday. I just spoke to her last Thursday about a claim, and she was so good, so helpful to us. So someone has some really big shoes to fill, and as a township, I'd like to offer our condolences to the Frank Gates family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Severs has the next item.
I do, and I'd like to apologize for the error with Mr. Shelley as well. Ms. Moorfield, if you're watching tonight, we miss you, and we need you back soon. So I'll take responsibility for that. One of the items, the only item I have tonight is something we've been working on for quite a long period of time, and it's something that we've discussed on and off again over the years. I think, Mr. Shelley, I know I didn't have gray hairs. I don't know that if you did, but if you want to step up because you're equally involved in this, this is our sidewalk assessment policy. This is a program by which we would allow residents to petition, as they would if a lighting district or an improvement district, the township to install sidewalks in residential subdivisions. This is not like the Anderson Trails program where those are projects are identified through a planning process. These are homeowners that wish to make those improvements themselves. So I appreciate the board and the conversations we've had over the years on this topic. I think it at least establishes a policy by which residents have an option, and we'll certainly do our best to accommodate them should something move forward and the board choose to take action on this tonight. So if there's any questions, and Richard, again, thanks for your help, for Tom Caruso and others as well that worked with us on this. So I'd be happy to answer those at this time.
Any questions? My notes go back to 2012.
Mine go back to
That's when we-
2006, so.
Well, the others are scratch notes. Anyway, it's a benefit if anybody wants it. If not,
I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the sidewalk assessment policy.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Thank you.
So let me get it out there.
Now, I am sure that Mr. Jackson will agree that the next item is the second most important thing that the board will consider this evening. We have, believe it or not, been receiving calls from township residents beginning in late May, early June regarding trick-or-treating hours in Anderson Township. So there is a motion before the board. If the board chooses to accept this, it will be consistent with past practice.
I would move that we set Saturday, October 31st, 2015, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. as Halloween trick-or-treat in Anderson Township.
Second.
Do we have a rain date? Remember,
Yeah.
that was a problem we
That
had
was the
last year.
problem.
We elected the one year where we did have some storms that moved in, and some jurisdictions moved trick-or-treat and some did not. What we had talked about with the board at that time was to allow homeowners associations, neighborhoods, to essentially set their own hours. For example, the neighborhood that I live in, they typically do it on a different evening. I know a lot of the homeowners associations arrange that within their own neighborhoods. That is certainly up to individual neighborhoods to do so, but township-wide, we're proposing the traditional hours so that everybody has consistent. We did not select a rain date. Typically, if it rains, we continue with trick-or-treating. The circumstances surrounding the last cancellation had to do with some high winds and some other storm-related issues. So I can tell you that we did receive a tremendous amount of calls the time that we moved Halloween trick-or-treat. So I think the best practice is to let each neighborhood pick and choose how they wish to proceed.
Good.
Mr.
Good plan.
Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes, thank you.
That was all we have for this evening.
Thank you.
We can do Christmas too next?
Richard, do you have anything else?
I can give a report on the salt.
I would remind you that our next regular monthly board meeting will be September 17th, 2015, at 6 p.m. You can call 688-8400 if you have any questions. And with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes, thank you. Thank you all for coming.